It's part 2 of the Santa's Little Helper Christmas special movie review. And in keeping with the spirit of Christmas, you only had to wait what felt like the better part of a year to experience it. Later in Dax's home, he and Billy are eating pizza. Ah yes, Santa's third test of character, learning if Dax can survive a cholesterol-induced heart failure. Dax offers Billy a drink, and Billy declines, saying she should probably leave. Really? But things were going so well. What with you just meeting him this morning, and then leading him to get almost murdered by a gang of bikers, and bearing witness to his child-beating tendencies. It would be a shame to let the night go to waste after all that. Billy is bashful over his advances, confused as to why he isn't repulsed by her unnaturally shaped ears like all the elves back home. Fortunately for Billy, however, she is white and blonde, and therefore any physical abnormalities can be ignored in the name of some good old-fashioned fuck-making. Dax goes in for a kiss, and Billy responds by diving off the couch and running into the window. We almost went a whole scene without some sort of slapstick tomfoolery. I don't know how we would have survived without it. We then cut to Dax and Billy driving around in the smart car. Can't be that smart, it did agree to be featured in this movie. Billy explains that this next test will be about inspiring people to follow his lead willingly and enthusiastically. You know, in case the elves get any funny ideas above their station about unionizing. Don't make me spray you down with the ho-ho-hos, footsie. Turns out Billy is taking Dax to a retirement home, where a bunch of old men and women are actually watching Total Divas. You can call off the search, guys. I found the show's target audience. Turns out it was here the whole time. Dax tries to get the old people to focus on him for a minute, and one of the old men there thinks he's watching an episode of SmackDown.
I'm gonna need everyone to focus on me for just a few minutes.
This is a long, boring commercial. Can we fast forward?
Dax tries to inspire the old folks to join him in some basic exercise, while the women start taunting him and telling him to take off his clothes.
Take your shirt off.
I'm trying to demonstrate that I can inspire.
But I can't hear you with your shirt on.
I don't...
You're prettier if you don't talk.
Oh shit, they've been sat watching Total Divas for so long, they want everybody to start acting and dressing like the Divas, starting with The Miz. You know, some people say that The Miz started the Divas revolution. Dax solves the problem by taking off his shirt and playing some even shittier Christmas hip-hop music. He politely asks one of the older residents to join him.
You've forgotten something, Mr. Sexy Pants.
In fact, I did, ma'am. I forgot how happy it would make me if you joined me in a few exercises. Would you please do me the honor?
Miss Lady. There's a really long sequence featuring Dax dancing with the old folks, and while you might expect some sort of punchline or other results to come from this scene, it turns out no, that's silly and you're stupid for expecting such a thing. We do, however, get these hysterical lyrics. I can't really begin to fathom what a Christmas club must look like. Stripper poles designed to look like candy canes, an elf mosh pit that resembles a children's playpen, illegal reindeer fights in the alley out back. I'd be all up in that Christmas club. While that scene slowly dies in an armchair while waiting for their children to call, we then see Dax and Billy driving past his old youth center. Remember the youth center? You know, it occurs to me that having Dax try to raise enough money to help the youth center keep going for another year might be a better test of his character. But no, you're right, Billy, Santa's magical fitness assistant. Having him strip for old people and threaten to punch small children has been a remarkable success. I'm starting to think that Santa's 5 sugar plum virtues are identical to the Dennis system from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The smart car pulls up on the side of the road, and Billy gets out to take a look at it, saying it's having problems. If it's anything like this movie's problems, it's running low on gas and needs a completely new engine. Also, it's shit. Billy works hard on the car while Dax attempts to demonstrate his value to her and find his AAA card. He accidentally pulls out his Triple H card and is immediately pinned and loses all titles he currently holds. Dax is hilariously clueless as to where Billy found all the repair tools and offers to help her as it's a man's job.
Where I'm from, we don't differentiate between male and female. We work together.
Even more proof that Santa lives at northpole.tumblr.com. He's making a list. He's checking your privilege. Dax continues to compliment Billy.
No, you operate at a different rhythm than any girl I've ever met. It's like you're from a different planet or something. Beautiful planet.
You look like you come from a beautiful planet, with a beautiful atmosphere comprised of beautiful oxygen and beautiful carbon dioxide molecules, with a beautiful orbit around a beautiful sun. That's how beautiful your home world must be. You want to suck my dick yet? Dax asks for Billy's full name, and she looks down at her jeans and makes up the name Billie Jean on the spot. Okay, so hold on, she doesn't have a surname. How on earth are people supposed to know what family she belongs to? Turns out they don't differentiate gender at the North Pole because years of inbreeding have made it a moot point. Dax says with a name like Billie Jean, she must have been teased a lot when that song came out. Billy reacts as if she's never even heard of that song. Okay, so in the space of one scene, we've established that Billy knows her way around an automobile, but she is not aware of insanely popular songs from the 80s. That's a very selective rock you're living under there, Billy. Dax has a moment of introspection where he expresses his hurt feelings over the breakup of his relationship a few days ago, and then immediately gets distracted and says he's hungry. Meanwhile, back at the North Pole, without his fitness instructor there to keep him in check, Santa goes on a cocaine binge and runs around with his dick out screaming, "Look everyone, I found Rudolph, Christmas is saved." Billy's job is more important than you'd think. Billy drives the car over to a nearby hot dog stand, presumably without listening to the radio, as she might be confused and terrified by the strange sounds emitting from it. Because she's from the North Pole, you see, and they don't have music there. Dax goes to stretch his legs in a nearby back alley and finds a man lying beside a dumpster. Oh hey, he found the screenwriter. Maybe he could ask him what happened to that Eleanor character that featured briefly in the movie. The man gets up and exclaims that he's been robbed, and that one of the items stolen was his great-great-grandfather's ring that he intended to give to his son on his birthday. Knowing Dax, he's probably going to prove his worth by finding this man's son and shoving his face into his birthday cake while screaming about his life choices. Dax returns to the car, only to spot a group of kids counting the money they stole from the man 20 feet away from where they committed the crime. Dax has a moment of deliberation before deciding that yes, he is going to be the morally good person that the movie keeps insisting that he is, despite all evidence to the contrary. He demands that the kids give him the old man's ring, and the kids give it to him without putting up any kind of fight. Once again, Dax has proven that he would be a worthy asset to Santa's tall inbred elven army by intimidating a group of kids into giving him something. Clearly the true spirit of Christmas. Meanwhile, Billy has taken about 5.5 hours to put mustard on her hot dog. Dax returns the ring to the old man, who is stunned, and asks Dax how he got it back. Rather than go to the effort of explaining how easy it was to get it from those kids, Dax lies and said that he just found it on the floor, which makes him a better person, I guess. Billy meets up with Dax and tells him he passed the final test.
My boss places a lot of value on special acts of kindness, especially towards strangers.
But apparently zero value on mid-80s Michael Jackson songs. The old man watches as Billy and Dax drive off, and the camera mercifully pans away as the group of kids return and start beating the shit out of him, having learned nothing. Back at Dax's house, Billy and Dax are celebrating over a bottle of wine. Billy finally admits that Dax is going to be working for Santa, which throws him for a loop.
Come on, stop joking.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying? Dax thinks Billy is pranking him, and things get pretty meta.
Dax, haven't you ever heard of Santa's Little Helper?
The dog from The Simpsons?
Somehow that doesn't confuse Billy, but making reference to one of the most popular songs of the modern age does. Dax begins getting increasingly flustered and angry with Billy, who threatens to use her magical Santa bell to keep him in check. He tries calling her bluff, but she uses it to wrap him up in Christmas paper. Does this present come with a gift receipt? Because I'm definitely going to be returning it. Billy gives Dax possibly the easiest instructions he's ever had to follow.
Don't talk. Don't think.
And then Dax says this. What? Why would they do that? Dax opens his front door and lo and behold, it's Santa, who apparently could have done all this shit himself given how much free time he seems to have, instead of relying on Billy, although I doubt he would have looked quite as hot with his midriff exposed. Dax recognizes Santa from the youth center. Wait, you mean that wasn't a whole different movie? Because it sure as fuck feels like it at this point. Santa wastes no time in revealing his plan to Dax, even revealing that he was the half-conscious old man who'd lost his ring. Wait, Santa can shapeshift? Who else was he pretending to be? The old lady who insisted that Dax take his shirt off? The creepy drunk ent at the birthday party? Dax's ex-girlfriend? Did the Miz literally fuck Christmas? Because he's already metaphorically doing it with this movie. Dax is rightfully confused and asks Santa why he chose him specifically to be the next ho-ho-ho, and Santa tells Dax to take his hand, saying he'll show him why. Okay, movie, you've built this guy up to be a chauvinistic, child-beating asshole who doesn't even celebrate Christmas. You have precisely 30 minutes to undo all that and make us like the main character. Good luck. Santa takes Dax back to the youth center, and there's a brown filter over everything. So it's either the distant past or a nuclear holocaust has happened. One or the other. It turns out that Dax used to come here all the time as a kid because his parents were never around. So really, Dax could be any number of anime protagonists. Santa shows Dax a flashback from his past, where a teacher is lecturing young Dax, played here by a poorly made Leonardo DiCaprio claymation puppet, for stealing the youth center's theater funds. Young Dax insists that he wouldn't do such a thing, and the teacher turns into Will Arnett's character from Arrested Development.
Says the dirt poor kid who actually asked to be treasurer of the Christmas show charity fund? Come on.
The rest of the kids leave, and young Dax eventually figures out that the teacher must have stolen the money. The teacher turns into a hackneyed supervillain and laughs maniacally at young Dax. Oh shit, he was working with Eleanor the elf the entire time! Wait, no, this happened before that. Who the fuck is the villain in this movie? Dax and Santa watch the scene unfold, and Dax announces that that teacher is the same guy who just stole the youth center's money in the present. Hold on a second, when was that established? And how did Dax know? And why isn't that the storyline to the movie? Is the Santa Monica Youth Center like the Bermuda Triangle? Do subplots just go there and disappear? Santa explains that this was the pivotal moment in his childhood that destroyed his hopes and turned him into the cold arsehole that he is today. Oh, he was wrongfully accused of something as a child. Nobody else ever has to go through something like that. I completely forgive him now for trying to break a young child's face. This also explains why he treats women like filth, because, a woman wasn't involved.
Center said they wouldn't press charges if I agreed to leave and never come back. So I did.
Except for the part where you came back later and nothing happened. Seriously though, pressing charges would probably help them pay off their debt. Maybe they should do that. Santa then goes on to explain that if this hadn't happened, Dax would have kept his heart open to others and he would have become an astronaut. Oh right, I forgot. NASA has that whole strict policy of only employing people who haven't been stabbed in the back soap opera style by youth center directors. Because that's all that held him back, really. Santa takes Dax into a room and shows him all of the potential he could have had if he hadn't been kicked out of the youth center. He would have become a household name, making millions in product endorsements. And he would have had a wife and 2 beautiful children. And if that isn't enough to make you roll your eyes, Santa explains that Dax would have become a genius scientist.
You would have used the science of zero gravity and discovered a cure for the common cold.
Clearly he's smart enough to do that, what with the way he's pouring blue liquid into a container and nodding. And yes, zero gravity definitely would help you cure the common cold and not make things just spin around all cool-like. Holy fuck, that youth center must be doubling as a training ground for elite astrophysicist husbands. Either that or Santa is still coming down from his cocaine binge from earlier. Dax begs Santa to use his North Pole magic and make that his life. And Santa sadly informs him that when he closed himself off and and stopped caring about others, that life ceased to exist. Wow. Kinda fucked up that you still showed him all of that then. These are the 2 children you would have had. But because some guy was a dick to you when you were a child, they died alone inside your testicles. Sorry, mate. Santa helpfully explains that it's never too late to find the best version of yourself and make a new start. No, yes it is. You just finished telling him that it was impossible to be famous astronaut father, magical science expert Miz. But here's the consolation prize. You get to shovel reindeer shit for the rest of your life at the North Pole. Once again, sorry about the 2 beautiful children you would have had. They're dead. Back at Dax's house, Footsie or Fritzy or Fucko or whatever his inconsistent name is today is shaving in Dax's bathroom. Did this movie just become single white elf? Oh, my mistake. It's turned into a risky business parody. Pretty sure those died when CGI Garfield did it. A lot of things died when CGI Garfield did things. Hope, for example. Yes, Footsie dances around Dax's apartment wearing his underwear. Sadly, they couldn't afford Bob Seger's classic old-time rock and roll, presumably because the youth center director stole their music budget. Billy walks in on Footsie and rather than bludgeon him to death like any rational human being would do, she asks him why he's here dressed like Dax. Footsie's response may surprise you.
Because Dax is a pretty incredible guy.
Maybe he is.
No, I know he is.
We just spent an entire movie demonstrating that Dax is an enormous cunt. You can't de-cunt him that fast. He's still way deep in cunt territory. Footsie says that Dax and he have way more in common than he thought.
I transport elves across space. He's always wanted to travel through space as an astronaut.
I'm sure Dax was the only child in his age group that wanted to be an astronaut. I mean, it's a well-documented fact that most children want to grow up to be lawyers or politicians. A kid wanting to be an astronaut, that's like somebody wanting to be Santa's personal trainer. Doesn't flipping happen.
He used to work at a youth center, bringing hope and joy to all those children, only he did it all year round.
This movie is just hitting me with retcon after retcon. I feel like that biker from earlier in the movie getting hit in the face with that pool ball that was meant for the Miz. I am metaphorically being slapped by Miz's balls right now.
Do not change one thing about yourself. You're an amazing, thoughtful, smart, compassionate elf.
Oh, is that why he sneaks into people's homes and dresses like them? Because of his compassion. Yes, Mother Teresa was known for her breaking and entering, not to mention her cavorting around in other people's wardrobes. It was her thing. Billy tells him to use some North Pole magic and get him back to the Footsie we all know and love. Oh, you mean the Footsie that doesn't appear on screen for the rest of the movie? That's my favorite version. We then cut to the same location at night, where Santa, Billy, and Dax are all getting high on edibles. Oh, sorry, I mistook this for an actual Los Angeles household. No, in this fantasy story, the 3 characters are eating actual cookies and talking about important shit.
You told me you wanted a shot at the big time. Well, I'd like to give you that shot. A truly unique opportunity to be great. What do you say?
All words that Vince McMahon will never say. Santa congratulates Dax and tells him that the ho-ho-ho opening is his if he wants it, but he should take tonight to think about it. I have a feeling that Dax spends many a lonely night lying awake and thinking about openings. Maniacal ruler of Earthrealm Harvey Ward arrives the next morning and tries to get the jump on Dax. But Dax is all kitted out in winter gear and is happy to leave the house behind. He throws his house key over his shoulder and Harvey catches it. Or rather, he mimes throwing the key over his shoulder and the movie just plays a bad sound effect of Harvey catching it. Presumably because, much like with this movie and the ball, he kept dropping it. At the North Pole, everyone has crammed themselves into Santa's peppermint portal, which may be the single most erotic sentence I've ever said out loud. Dax appears as if by magic, declaring that he appreciates that there's no jet lag or baggage fee. Yes, Santa's workshop is much more efficient than LAX, as at least at the North Pole, you only have to wait 364 days for the next flight, as opposed to never. Also, the worst you get for being naughty with Santa is a lump of coal, whereas even if you are nice at LAX, you will be lucky to escape with a mild trauma-inducing body search. You've been waiting the entire movie for these memorable characters to finally share some screen time. Dax meets Mrs. Claus. He tells Santa that he's a lucky man, and this baffling exchange ensues.
You know what they say, behind every great man...
There's a great woman.
What? No. There's a plate of cookies.
Ah yes, I forgot that the WWE's hierarchy goes woman, cookies, any given foreign object, the Intercontinental title, the WWE title, and then man. Santa begins to swear Dax in as the new ho-ho-ho when Eleanor interrupts by somersaulting down from a balcony for no reason. Presumably because they hired a stunt woman for a day, and damn it, they were going to get their money's worth. Eleanor cites Rule 2701B of the ho-ho-ho rulebook.
Although Santa is responsible for selecting the ho-ho-ho, anyone who disagrees with his decision may publicly lodge an objection. I object.
I believe this is the same clause that Hulk Hogan used in his WCW contract whenever faced with a potential loss. Eleanor officially challenges Dax to a race at Santa's boot camp to determine the real new ho-ho-ho, which Billy describes as...
It's a brutal obstacle course that Santa designed to help prepare us for all the challenges that come our way.
Ah yes, brutal challenges such as all the wooden splinters you'll be getting from making all those shite wooden trains. But it's okay, in case another elf loses one of their limbs in the baler, you'll be able to run really, really fast to go find somebody who is actually trained to help. Santa declares the challenge official.
It's settled then. Fitz will guide you through the course.
Oh, his name is Fitz. Well, that makes sense because his brand of obnoxious bullshit posing as comedy fits right in with the rest of this movie. We go then to Santa's boot camp, which looks uncannily like if the WWE hosted an episode of Tough Enough on the forest moon of Endor. Former Tough Enough host Taz would fit right in here with his hairy diminutive brethren. Dax and Eleanor stand ready to face whatever brutal challenges Santa's children's boot camp presents.
Nervous?
No. You should be.
That's what the last guy said. What was his name again? Oh yeah, pathetic loser.
I had no idea Zack Ryder tried out for the position of ho-ho-ho. Although knowing him, he thought it was the woo-woo-woo. Fitzy announces the start of the race.
The first elf or person to complete the course wins.
So in elf society, not only are you ridiculed if your ears don't conform to everybody else's pointy shape, but you are also not officially a person. No wonder Santa Claus has been able to get away with running a glorified sweatshop all these years. His workers have no rights. Dax and Eleanor make their way through a daring series of obstacles, including a zip line, a rope bridge, and a net tunnel. I'm fairly certain that the pizza place that Dax was briefly employed by had a more complex series of physical challenges in its jungle gym. At one point, Eleanor walks over Dax in order to get across the rope bridge faster than him. You know, there are a lot of people who would pay good money to have Paige do that to them. Me. I am a lot of people. Eleanor wraps her legs around Dax's head. Again, good money. And then Dax proceeds to walk over Eleanor to gain an advantage, which is good, wholesome family woman abuse. Mrs. Claus accidentally causes the rapture or something.
That's how Mama butters her cookies!
Dax gains the lead, and Billy struggles to rally support, while also trying to quiet the rage of the nine-tailed fox trapped deep within her soul.
Who's the man? Dax the man! And who's the man? Dax the man!
Eleanor regains her advantage and asks Dax how it feels to be losing to a girl. Hey now, earlier in the film, Billy told Dax that the elves don't differentiate between men and women, although it wouldn't surprise me if this was some elaborate ruse that Santa had put in place to get the elves to agree to have co-ed showers in his workshop. Eleanor stands triumphant, making this Paige's first on-screen victory all year. Scratch that, her first on-screen appearance all year. Back at the workshop, Eleanor asks to be signed in as ho-ho-ho and be given her father's magical bell. Santa tells Billy to hang on to it for the time being, which results in this British gobbledygook from Paige.
But Santa, that's mine.
I think it best if you call me sir.
Oh, so they have one of those relationships. Dax apologizes to Santa for letting him down, and I swear to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit of Christmas that Santa actually tells Dax not to worry, as he demonstrated all the values that Santa holds dear, such as violence against women, I guess. The reason there's a plate of cookies behind every man is because the woman dropped them and she needs to get back in the kitchen and bake some more. Eleanor offers half-hearted commiserations to Dax.
Some people just never learn.
Give it a rest. Just be nicer to Billy. She's a great person, doesn't deserve the way you treat her.
Right, because Dax was totally aware that Billy and Eleanor had a history. Just like we, the audience, are aware that Eleanor is always bullying Billy, even though they've only shared maybe 8.5 seconds of screen time together. Still, according to WWE's current booking method, that amount of build-up would make for a stellar WrestleMania feud. Later, Dax finds Billy and apologizes. So the rest of this movie is just going to be The Miz finding everybody that he's disappointed and apologizing to them. Well, the director's cut must have lasted a good several weeks as he tracked down every member of the WWE universe. Being true to her word to Santa of never letting the magical bell out of her sight, Billy proceeds to let the magical bell out of her sight, allowing Dax to steal it and use its magic to travel to a land of make-believe, Los Angeles. Dax conjures himself up a fancy car and then complains that he can't drive stick shift. Well, you fucking made the car. Didn't you think about that beforehand? Or is this just a monkey's paw situation where his wishes are granted in shite fashion? Ironically, I'm pretty sure a monkey could drive stick shift better than Dax. At the youth center, Dax's old boss Lane is overseeing the demolition of the building. Personally, it's just him and the guy running the excavator. You'd think he'd prefer to be somewhere doing his actual job, but no, apparently he has nothing better to do than to come watch a building get torn down over the course of several hours. But it's not just him, there's also a crowd of people protesting. And by protesting, I mean standing around doing fuck all. It's the protest equivalent of a lumberjack match. Not that you would ever protest a lumberjack match, cause they're the bomb, yo. Dax has his long-awaited confrontation with Lane.
You lay one finger on me, and I'm gonna sue you so fast it's gonna make your head spin.
The same clause that existed in Brock Lesnar's TV contract. Nobody can fight him or there will be legal repercussions. Dax rings his magical bell and summons the guy who stole all the youth center's money, and some nearby police officers walk over and handcuff him on Dax's say-so. Once again, racial profiling causes a middle-aged white man with a Hawaiian shirt to be arrested for no good reason. When will we evolve as a society to where this isn't a daily occurrence? Lane isn't impressed.
Nice little trick, Dax. The tricks don't pay the rent.
I don't know, turning tricks has helped me pay the rent for the last 3 years. I mean, what? Dax tries ringing the magical bell to pay the youth center's debt, but Santa stops him because, in his words, Dax is on his own for this one. Another one of Santa's sugar plum virtues, being a giant fucking dick. Yes, heaven forbid Dax use Santa's magic for generosity's sake. You know, like how Santa uses it literally all the time. Lane is completely unfazed by the magically appearing rotund elf and orders the excavator to continue demolishing the youth center. Dax throws a garbage can in the vehicle's path, and it has about the same effect as a garbage can would in a typical WWE hardcore match. Little to none. As a last resort, Dax runs in front of the youth center and makes an impassioned speech to the crowd about helping children find their passion and believe in Santa Claus. This is enough to force the immobile crowd of silent protesters to walk past the yellow tape and stand in front of the youth center with him, which is apparently something that none of them thought to do, even though that's precisely why they're here. Dax threatens to reveal Lane's creative accounting if he knocks the building down, and thusly, Dax has fulfilled the most important sugar plum value of all, blackmail. After all, Santa is the OG blackmailer, sending thousands of kids lumps of coal every year. The crowd celebrates and Santa accidentally rings his bell, causing a shower of snowflakes to fall on the congregation. Santa then goes on to use his magic to fix California's terrible drought problem. Just kidding, he rings the bell again and makes the snow stop because fuck the mortal world and its problems. Eleanor appears and mumbles dramatically.
There you are. In case you forgot, I still need to piece one in, and there's so much I have to get.
Let me stop you right there, Eleanor.
And give you the name of my acting coach. Santa tells Eleanor that the rules of the ho-ho-ho position dictate that in the unlikely event of a challenge for the position, good sportsmanship must be exhibited by both competitors at all times. So he reverses the decision to give the job to Eleanor at the last minute. Dusty Rhodes must be smiling down from polka dot heaven as we speak. Santa then offers the job to Billy, having demonstrated the most important sugar plum virtues of all: complete and total vapidness and subservience to Santa and his all-powerful festive regime. Billy does the world's worst Daniel Bryan impression.
Yeah, yes. Yes, yes, yes!
Billy leaps into Dax's arms and he asks her if she's still mad at him for taking the bell, even though it was never established that she was mad at him in the first place. I understand his confusion though. If I knew anybody with the emotional range of Billy the Elf, I'd have to keep asking them what they were feeling too. Billy kisses Dax because obviously she's fallen in love with the man that she met 2 days ago who threatened to attack children and until recently was the biggest slime ball in Santa Monica, which puts him in the running for biggest slime ball worldwide. Dax ends the movie redeeming himself with a message of hope for all mankind.
Merry Christmas to me.
Or he's just a twat who treats his new girlfriend like a Christmas present. I don't know. I checked out around the time he was dressed like a monkey. Truly, WWE Studios have created a Christmas classic that will be shared by families for years to come. And by shared, I mean loaned back and forth between each other in a desperate attempt to forget that they picked this movie out of the bargain bin. My name's Martin, and I'll see you in the Christmas Club.